how you got here because you were actually like running a really great business, doing all the things, and then the pandemic happened. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, ouch.
Right?
So, business owners, entrepreneurs, creators, right? I was a photographer for National Geographic as an event photographer, and eventually got over to Time Inc. and Sports Illustrated and MySpace, believe it or not, showing my age, but they were a great client, and I was there when they sold to Fox News Corp, and eventually made it to the White House as an event photographer with President Obama.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Great stories. It's in my book called Camera Focus. You learn a lot um, hanging out with people like that. And
Right.
people were super generous of their time. And at that moment in time when I left the White House, I built a pretty substantial business in photography. And I got to remind people, like, when you get to that level, you no longer are doing the things that you once did. So I wasn't taking photographs anymore, right? I I was the guy, I was the CEO guy, right? I'm now running a company with 52 people with complete chaos, trying to figure out, what am I doing? Am I making money? Am I making profit? What the heck's going on? Time's going by fast. It was chaos. And the pandemic actually slowed me down to a stop. And because there was no events, there was nothing going on. We didn't know, but like obviously we know now. But it never really came back at that level for me. Right now, which kind of leads me to right now. There's tons of information out, right? We have this podcast, awesome, right? We have Google, we have ChatGPT. I mean, the information is plentiful, right? But when you get on a podcast with somebody like us, we're not passing out information, right? We're passing out experience, things we've done, things that worked, and things we do different. Well,
Yes.
you can't chat GPT that, right? You
Right.
can't Google that.
What did you learn?
What, yeah, what you learn, like when you lost the $1 million business, exactly what would you do over again, right? So there's a lot of value to these podcasts and listen to people that have been there before. And I only say that because people will say, well, you were so successful, Scott. What happened? Why didn't you just go back into it? Well, when you get to a certain level over a $4 million company, trying to just, hey, let me just whip it back up again.
Oh, right.
It's essentially time for a new season, right? And so the new season was now like, okay, I don't have to help. I don't have to build my own business, but I could certainly help others, right? I can help other people build a business, and I can show them, don't do what I did, but do what I say, and I'm going to help you a lot more and save you a ton of money because you don't do what I did. So if you're willing to listen to that, perhaps I might have a few golden nuggets, just like yourself, right? In giving out this information. So yeah, that's the lesson we learned today, and that's the new shift, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gosh, where do you start with that? So many. Wow. Honestly, the biggest thing that comes to my mind is you have two types of individuals. Okay. You have the post-pandemic and pre-pandemic. There's a dividing line right there. Okay.
Yeah.
And the pre-pandemic people had a system, had a business, perhaps like me, and it worked, and they went with it. They did it for a while, and then the pandemic happened. And now we're doing post-pandemic. Well, life post versus pre in business is completely different, right? And it's not because of the pandemic. It's simply we've evolved in time and social media and information that there's more people doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere. The way to communicate, the way to advertise on Facebook has changed, right? Everybody can run an ad so simple. And during the pandemic, you used to have to hire an agency to do that. You don't need to do that anymore. So now we're seeing so many people advertising what they do, little small businesses, which gives the world a lot more competition, right? And then what happens is we become commoditized, right? We become price shopped. We become Amazoned, as I say, right?
Right.
How much, right? And so you don't want to be.
And looking at reviews, they're also gonna. I tell my girls all the time, I'm like, listen, people look at reviews like the way on Amazon, we would look at a review and be like, oh, it only has 5 reviews. Like,
I'm out.
That's
Yeah, I'm out.
can't even.
Totally, 100%,
Yeah.
right? We didn't have that pre-pandemic, if you think about it, right? It wasn't, we had it, but nobody was doing it. It wasn't like it is today, right? And so
Yes.
those are the difference between the two individuals. And they're wondering why they don't have any business or business slowed. It's because of the pandemic and it went away. Yeah, that happened to me. I'm not saying it was me, but you know, when you do massive events at the White House and big events, that kind of changed, right? That's fine. But the way you do business, not how you do business, but the way you do business has changed, and it's sales and marketing. Are you making sales calls? Are you talking about what you do? Are you solving a problem? And that is the definitive line that I see. The people pre and post, people pre on, I'm making sales calls. They're expecting them to find them on the website and the phone will ring, I guess, and leads will come in mysteriously. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's simply not happening.
One of our my motto that I've come up with for POC, which is Pro Organizers Coach,
Love it.
is plant seed, keep it simple, and stay consistent. Like you constantly got to be planting seeds, and planting those seeds are conversations with people, calling people. I just last night in our group coaching community, we have an app where we all talk to each other. And one of the girls, she's like, hey, I just drove by a house that's for sale. She said, I think I'm going to mail them my postcards. She said, before they move. And then when the new people move in, I'll mail them my postcards too. And I was like, love it. Love it. Perfect. You know, it's those little things that you've got to think out of the box in this day and age to stand out.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the next thing is, don't try it 10 times and say it didn't work.
Right.
You know, like you get come back in 6 months to a year, right? Then let's look at the data. How many did you send out? How many responses do you have? We're a data-driven world. I never had lived that world myself, right? You can't say it didn't work. You know, I have clients too. Hey, I passed out flyers. Okay, awesome. How many flyers you passed out? About 50. Okay.
Right.
It's not gonna do anything. And it's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you need like 10,000 flyers, right?
Yeah.
Just because there's more people. Yeah.
And what's on your flyers, right? Like it's the other thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What's your hook? Right?
Yes.
What's your offer? What do you sell?
Yes. Yes. And that's the other thing that's a little different now. I don't know if it's necessarily pre and post pandemic, but you know, I know in post pandemic, because I started my organizing business during the pandemic. So I'm definitely a post pandemic. I heard all of this since the pandemic. But you know, now it's like you have to have exactly what you said. Like you've got to have your hook, you've got to be able to tell them, but it's more transformational focused. It's more helping them to understand what they're